Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Are you ready?
Yeah, baby. Hit it.
I saw you were with them last night. I saw you were with them last night. Don't burn the bridge, burn the paper. Don't burn the bridge, burn the paper.
Yeah, that's Billy D coming to a venue near you. Sooner than later, I'm going to get my dead butt off the ground and start doing gigs and seeing what I can do to enjoy a couple hours with you guys and singing covers and singing my own stuff, and we'll see how it goes. I'm in the process of learning a bunch more songs, folks, so I'm a little chicken to go out there until I'm comfortable with about 20 or 30 songs as covers, because as I said earlier, I learned the hard way that you lose your audience after about 3 or 4 songs because they don't know your songs, so they check out. Learned lesson 1, you got to have 3 to 4 to 5 covers to keep their attention because they know those songs, and then I can slip one in on my, one of mine in there. So we'll see what happens. By the way, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are out there. I know my wife Sally had a wonderful Mother's Day. I know my mother-in-law had a very nice Mother's Day. By the way, Mom, if you're listening, my mother-in-law, if you happen to be listening, I just found out one of the gifts that is going to be sent to you. I learned this at 5 o'clock tonight. Is not coming because they ran out. So stay tuned. Something else is coming. But welcome back, everybody. This is your Insurance Corner. I just got word that we're still having some issues with the phones, so Sean will not be joining us tonight. So I'm flying solo. That's okay. This is your Insurance Corner at 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner. And we're going to continue with story number 2. This is a story, folks, that has to do with the Affordable Care Act this time, not Medicare. I've got 2 more Medicare stories I want to share if there's going to be enough time. But I want to get to this one because this one really has hacked me off in a major, major way. So I want you to imagine that you are the subscriber, you're the matriarch or the patriarch of the family. You went out and bought an Affordable Care Act plan. You are getting a subsidy, so you had to go through healthcare.gov. You signed up for a plan. You're happy with the plan. You've got the doctors that you want. The subsidy is a nice number, so the plan is, quote, affordable. I kind of laugh, chuckle, but it's you're getting a decent value for your family of 3. Fast forward to your daughter or your son who is on the plan, may or may not have access to the portal, but certainly has access to healthcare.gov. And they they graduate from school, they go online, unbeknownst to you, the subscriber, and they start to fill out a new application for their own health care because they've moved out of state. Perfectly normal situation. Under normal circumstances, so far I don't have a problem with this. However, this is where it gets ugly. The person, I'm not sure if they had access to the subscribers portal, but they certainly, the system is intuitive. It's going to pick up things like dates of birth, last names, and certainly social security numbers. And one of the things that you can't have in the Obamacare space is double coverage. And evidently, there is an algorithm in the system that says if you apply and you're trying to apply for a different kind of coverage, the system will pick up on it and potentially cancel you. And in this case, that's what happened. So the daughter was probably trying to do the right thing, but didn't finish. I want to make this clear. She never finished her application. She started one, unbeknownst to her dad. She started one, but didn't finish. Never signed off on anything. She did click some buttons, but never signed off on anything. The dad, simultaneously, unbeknownst to the daughter, went on to say, okay, my daughter's moved on. She's moved out of state. I need to take her off my plan so we can, get the premiums down a little bit, etc. He went partially through the application, and again got uncomfortable and chose not to proceed. Nothing was signed off on. Maybe a couple of boxes again were clicked off, but because these boxes were clicked off, that was enough for the Affordable Care Act, for healthcare.gov, not Blue Cross. I want to make this clear. Blue Cross never canceled them. Healthcare.gov canceled them. So we had a dependent somehow being able to control the entire policy for the family. And that's exactly what happened here. The dependent, not the subscriber, not the contract holder, somehow, because of some box changes, created a double coverage situation. And because of that, the healthcare.gov system terminated the entire policy for the family effective May 1st. That's when I got involved. I got involved shortly thereafter. In fact, on May 3rd, my client, who has been my client for a little while, I think since maybe 2013, 2014, somewhere in there, called me up and asked for my help. And I'll got to tell you, folks, these are contracts that people are signing. But evidently, healthcare.gov and the government doesn't give a rip about contracts. It's all about their systems. So the first person we talked to, somebody named Anakin, not from Star Wars, just happened to be that was his name, was empathetic to our plight, understood what happened, and said, let me see what I can do. We think this is fixable. Never heard from him. The one thing that was another bother here was that he said it could take up to 30 days. Well, my client had scheduled a surgery for the middle of May. So there was some urgency here to make sure he was going to still be covered. So a week later, I called healthcare.gov, talked to a new person, had to retell the whole story, and the first person that gets on the phone was, matter of fact, our systems don't make mistakes. And I'm like, well, contraire, my dear, but your system did make a mistake. You terminated a family without them ever executing a contract that said, please change me. Please stop this. And not only did you change the person who started the application, but you terminated the whole family because of an algorithm that's built into your system. So you did. And for those of you who know me well enough, I didn't take kind to that. I had, at this point, my client on the phone with me. And I think to some degree that was a good thing because he kind of helped me settle down a little bit. I let him kind of take over. I just kind of listened. We ultimately got to a lady named Karen. This is, by the way, this is a 2-hour phone call, folks. This was not something that was just 15, 20 minutes. This is over a 2-hour period. So Karen gets on the phone and again exclaims, our systems don't make mistakes. And I'm like, yes, they did. And then she started looking at some notes and she said, oh, well, something's not right here. So somehow she usurped the system and told the system that this is a qualifying event through no fault of the client, which is technically correct. Through no fault of the client didn't actually terminate anything. They clicked off some boxes, but they never actually finished signing off on an application. But the entire family's coverage was terminated May 1st. So she created an application under a special enrollment situation and for an effective date of June 1st. And she said, and we said, well, we really need it to go retroactive to May 1st because this should have never happened in the first place. And she said, well, I'll put an application, I'll ask for it to be escalated, and we'll see what we can do. I'm going to digress here a second because I want to talk about the word escalation. We asked for this on May 3rd to be escalated. When we called in again, when I called in a week later, I asked, I told the lady, the first person I talked to, this was escalated. Then I got to the supervisor, Karen. I said this was escalated. And she said, well, the escalation department said they're not going to, at that point, they said they're not going to honor the request to reinstate you. You're not covered. And I said, matter of factly, I need to talk to that person. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that the escalation department doesn't take phone calls. And the lady that we talked to, who was admittedly very nice, was matter of fact. We're not, I don't know anything about this case. I just know that it went to escalation. The escalation department came back and said, appeal denied. Interesting. So the people that are making decisions sitting in a cubicle somewhere in the hinterlands of God knows where on our tax dollar, they don't take phone calls. Especially in cases like this where clearly something went wrong in the system because a subscriber did not sign off on this. The member never signed off on this. They clicked a couple boxes and because of the algorithms, canceled the whole policy. So fast forward again to getting her our special enrollment situation. We said we really need May 1st. I said my client has a surgery coming up, and this is a surgery that was planned 4 months ago. So she said she'll try. As of this morning, Blue Cross received a new application for 6/1. I have to make a phone call towards the end of this week to find out if we can get that retroactive to May 1st. I'm not exactly, I'm a bit dubious that we can do that. Now, here's the other rub. He doesn't get any credit for any of the medical bills that he incurred between January and April, which was a lot. It was a lot, folks. He has to start from zero all over again on June 1st if he can't get reinstated. I think if we can get him reinstated to May 1st, I think I can probably go back to Blue Cross and make a case that his deductibles and everything should be credited accordingly. But if we can't get that done, he's got to start from zero. And that's not up to Blue Cross. When you deal with healthcare.gov, they are the sole arbiter. The insurance carrier is just there to catch the ball. They are not in a position to make a contractual decision necessarily to accept. If healthcare.gov says it's okay, the insurance carrier will generally acquiesce and say, fine, come on board. If you apply directly to Blue Cross, and understandably given the fact that this guy was, my client was getting subsidy, it's understandable why he's going through healthcare.gov and not direct. The premiums are substantially higher if you go direct. But I can also tell you that had he gone direct, I probably would have had this fixed a week ago. Because I could have said operator error, somebody made a mistake, and nothing should have happened. And what bothers me the most was that the system changed without anybody signing off on it, and in particular, the subscriber. The whole family was terminated. It wasn't just the person who moved out of state and was looking for other coverage and never finished her application. The whole family got terminated on the pretext that there was double coverage. And to the extent that this person, Karen, was helping, she was not terribly empathetic about the fact that the system terminated them until she found the notes, and then that's kind of when she made a U-turn and tried to help. So in the Affordable Care Act, folks, specifically with healthcare.gov, do not do things online. That's the moral of the story here. Either call the agent or call the carrier or call healthcare.gov. And in this case, since everything Since the changes, because they affect subsidies, call healthcare.gov. Get it on the record. All those phone calls are recorded. Get a number, what do they call those? A reference number, so that you can reference the number if a mistake is made. That way they can look it up in the system, yada yada. But don't do this on the computer, because it is a train wreck. By the way, I also asked this Karen, I said, are you able to show us whether or not, or let me say it this way, were you able to show us who actually executed the system? Is your system able to read IP addresses? And, she didn't know what I was talking about. That's a sad commentary. The algorithms kicked her out, and when I asked her if the system could read IP addresses, she didn't know what I was talking about. That's pathetic. That is utterly pathetic. So that's my second story. Third story. When you're on Medicare, there are different rules for hospitalization than on your normal Obamacare plan or employer plan. Let me just lay out this. So this is all Part A, not Part B. Part B is for for doctors and everything else except for prescriptions. Part A is strictly for hospitalization and skilled nursing facilities. Full stop. Maybe some hospice care in there as well. The first 60 days in calendar year 2024, you pay a deductible of $1,632 for the first 62 days. Between the 61st day and the 90th day, you'll pay $408 a day. Then you get into what's called lifetime reserves. It's another 60 days. Lifetime reserve days. That's between 91 and 150 days. If you get into those reserve days, you pay $816 a day. Now, if you have a Medicare supplement that's worth their salt, or a Medicare Advantage that's worth their salt, with the exception of a deductible or some copays in Medicare Advantage plans, you won't have to pay the $1,632, the $408, or the $816 a day. Specifically speaking, if you have Plan G in the Medicare supplement space, your out-of-pocket, notwithstanding what I just laid out, is $240 for 150 days. But what happens after that? Has anybody ever addressed the question, if you're on Medicare, have you addressed that question? It's actually happened to me once. I never heard from the client, so I kind of figured everything was okay. But a month ago, a client of mine fell. My friend, I'll call him Sean, known him for 25 years. Sean fell and broke his arm and his shoulder and shattered his pelvis. Yes, from the fall, shattered his pelvis. That's what I was told. About a few days later, he was diagnosed with blood cancer, which explains why his bones broke the way they did. I can't even imagine the pain that my friend Sean is going through. A few days after he was diagnosed with blood cancer, he had a mild heart attack. Now, my friend Sean, on one level, is a nice person, and on another level, he's a major curmudgeon. Hates, underscore the word, hates people in the insurance business except for me. Doesn't trust anybody. Don't blame him. What happens after 150 days? So his daughter called me and said, who's on the hook if he's here for more than 150 days, which there is a possibility that could happen? Who pays? I checked with 3 of my Medicare insurance company specialists. One of them kind of knew. The other 2 didn't. So I called Medicare directly today. And I got a great person on the phone from Medicare. We spent probably 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes on the phone. And she did the research, she did her due diligence, etc. Came back to me and she said, your supplement if you have Plan G, in this case he's got Plan F, so Plan F, Plan G basically the same except for a deductible. Your supplement will cover the extra days for an extra 365 days. Now, the likelihood of being in the hospital for another year is highly, highly, highly unlikely. But you need to know that if you have a supplement, you will likely be covered for an extra year. Now, here's the tricky part, and I'm going to read this verbatim. It says, Part B, the supplement will cover all Medicare, quote, approved amounts for an additional 365 days. Well, if Medicare is not covering, are they still in play? Are they still approving me? If they're still approving me, then they don't have skin in the game anymore, but they're still there. So the lady understood what I was asking, and she said it really is up to the supplement company at that point. In this case, it's Blue Cross. Could be Humana, could be Aetna, could be Shenandoah Life, could be Cigna, could be, maybe not Cigna anymore, but it could be a whole bunch of other ARP, it could be a whole bunch of other companies. The supplement may take over at that point. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, it's going to be the insurance company calling the shots, not Medicare, just to be clear. So, and then what happens to those reserve days? You got 60 days, they're gone. In order to get those days back, you have to be out of the hospital for at least 60 days. You cannot return within those 60 days. If you burn through all those days, you may not be covered. You may not be covered. If you get past 60 days and you have to go back to the hospital again, you get one more 60-day period. That's it. Unlike your group plan where there's unlimited coverage, Medicare is going to shut you down. So we're coming to the end of the hour, folks. I did have one more story I wanted to share, but we can spare that for next week. I'm going to give my cousin's son a shout out. If I can find his little message here, I'm going to give him full credit. And here it is. This was texted to me by my cousin's son, Chris. You can't change other people, but you can change yourself, which is hard and very rewarding on its own. Nothing good in life comes easy, even the change you wish to realize in yourself. When you do change yourself, you change the way you relate to everyone else around you. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but building on the new. That was Socrates. I'm going to read one more here because we're almost out of time. Some people want it to happen. Some wish it would happen. Others make it happen. Michael Jordan. These are two messages that I saw come across my text message a couple weeks ago, and I told my nephew, essentially Christopher, that I was going to put them on the radio and give him full credit. It was kind of funny because he said, "Why are you stealing my stuff?" And I said, "Well, I'm not stealing it. Imitation is the best form of flattery." So, Christopher, there you are. We have, I'm told, over 400 shows up on Spotify on Your Insurance Corner. So if you miss our show, folks, you can go to Spotify, look under podcasts, under Your Insurance Corner, and you can hear me and Sean, to the extent Sean's up there with us, and listen to a various number of shows. Next week, we're going to continue on our Medicare and You discussion. We'll have more discussion on Medicare, and I'll share that last story with you. So with that in mind, my name is Bill Miksch. This is Your Insurance Corner. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Take care.